Hey everyone, it's Marshall Atkinson, and welcome back to my Thursday edition of the interviews I've been doing. And I should actually get around to titling these, I guess, but I haven't. But today, I'm really happy and pleased to welcome my good friend and personal mentor, Mark Coudray, and he's going to talk about his new R3 program that he's doing with Catalyst. And I know this is going to be super impactful for you. So and I can't wait to dig into that. So welcome, Mark, to the show.
Thank you, Marshall. It's always good to be here.
Yeah, it's going to be great. And I know you've been really crazy busy. We were just talking about that. So kind of what, just fill everybody in if they don't know who you are, kind of what you do and how you've been helping people.
Well, I'm an old guy. I've been around this business forever. I started my first company when I was 19, screen printing company in a garage, just like everybody else starts their business. Built it into a multi-million-dollar business. Been a technology driver and innovator in this industry for decades. 2006, I made a pivot, moved out of the technical area, and really started focusing on bringing sound business practices to the industry. I was seeing companies that were working really hard, weren't making any profit. And so it was all about improving the profitability and improving the financial soundness so that companies could, move forward and grow their businesses in a healthy way. 2008 to 2010 was the Great Recession. And during that period, we went through a really difficult time. Myself personally, we ended up losing my company for the most part. I had to sell my equipment and had business foreclosures and all kinds of things due to the recession and also to personal medical crisis in the family. My son was ill with leukemia, and we liquidated all of our assets to pay his medical bills and keep him alive. And out of that, in 2012, I looked back on the rubble of what was left of the business and said, what the hell happened here? And really from that, analyzed the company and found out that there were a lot of really serious mistakes that I'd made. Even though the company was 38 years old and very successful, I'd missed some big things. And that's where Catalyst came from. Catalyst came out of the ashes, and it was designed to strengthen companies so that they would be able to weather unexpected crisis. And so now here we are, 8 years later, and in the midst of the biggest economic calamity I've ever seen, and all the things that have been building out of that, it's almost kind of like it was a perfect storm in a good way. But there's a pathway out of this, and that's really where I've been focusing the last 8 weeks, is helping companies to see a pathway out, because it caught a lot of people by surprise.
Right. And all right, so thank you so much for that. I just want to let everybody know, if you're watching, there's plenty of opportunity to ask Mark a question. Right. Just leave your name and comment and stuff in the comments, and we'll get to your questions when we're got a minute. Okay, so just make sure you leave your questions so we can answer them if you've got any. And Mike Woolbright's watching, and he says hello. So thanks, Mike. So just to kind of teeth some things up, I thought we would get to the current status of the business world and economy, and just your take on what's going on. I know you talk to a considerable number of people every single day, just like I do, and you've got a very interesting viewpoint on where we are right now and where we should be kind of heading, and that's going to kind of tee up the whole thing about your R3 program.
Right. So I have literally been spending 12 to 15 hours a day, every single day, Saturdays and Sundays included, since the middle of March. I've talked to more than 300 companies around the world, mostly in the US, but in other countries as well. A lot of people in the UK and Ireland, not just in the imprinted sportswear industry, but pharmaceuticals, manufacturing, computer software. And the goal out of that was that I asked everybody the same set of questions. And what I wanted to do was find out what's happening in their area and in their industry, and the degree to which they were impacted, so that I could understand how to structure a recovery program out of this. And when I hit about 250 or so companies, that was the point at which the path was pretty clear. And from that was about 4 weeks ago, really started packaging up a program of mindset, mind shift techniques to get your head in the game, back in the game and out of where you are right now. And also the core strategies and the associated tactics to those strategies. And that really is what the R3 program is all about.
Right. So segue, right? So let's start talking about that and kind of unpack what you're doing.
Right. So Catalyst is a program that I've been running since 2015. It's designed primarily for businesses that are $500,000 and up. The largest company that I've worked with so far is about 55 million in revenue. And it's designed to improve the profitability and the cash flow, and also to take a look at the business and strengthen the weak parts of the business. There's a number of different sub-programs within the Catalyst plan, which is the overreaching plan. And R3 stands for reset, restart, and rebuild. What is happening globally right now is the biggest leveling of the economic field ever. And I've never seen anything like this. And in my study of history going back, this is very similar to the compressed time frame of going from the agrarian age to the industrial age. We are literally flattening the field and coming out of the post-industrial phase into the next economy coming forward. I don't know whether you want to call it information or data or digital or whatever you're going to call it, but we're going to see a completely different world emerge out of what we're doing right now. And everybody's had a 2-month timeout for the most part as we've gone through lockdowns in almost every major country in the world. Every Western country in the world has had lockdowns. So it's been 2 months that we've had a chance to sit and get freaked out by the media about how terrible things are and how everybody's dying and on, whatever their agenda is, just to keep everybody scared. But what are you going to do when you come out of this? What are you going to do with loans? What are you going to do with PPP? What are you going to do with the IDL? What are you going to do with all of these things? Do you bring the same people back? Do you stay in the same markets? These are all questions that most companies don't have answers for. And so I thought I'll put together a program and make it available to them to be able to kind of assess their situation, determine how stable it was to begin with. Most of the time it's not stable. They're already experiencing big catastrophic economic impact. Do the assessment, and then here's some methods that you can use to kind of reset your business back to zero, and then restart in a new way that's profitable right from the beginning, and then rebuild it in a way that's going to be sustainable into the future, and mostly to be able to be positioned for another set of crisis, whether it's a terrorist attack, an earthquake, a flood, a tornado, or whatever it is. You're ready to go.
Mm-hmm. And that's very interesting. And I love your comment about how there's moving from one revolution to another, kind of a thing. And, we've been really talking about the retail apocalypse for years, right? Where everything is moving to online stores, but it's been like slowly kind of creeping along. And I think right now, it's what would have happened. It's just now at warp speed. And that's kind of how I feel about a lot of stuff we're talking with people. It's just that we're getting to where we probably would have ended up 5 years from now. It's just going to happen in July, right? It's just going to happen around the corner.
It's not just retail though. I mean, what we're seeing right now is a sea change in higher education. You're seeing universities saying we're not going to do a fall semester. Cambridge University announced in Cambridge, England last week, they're not going to do the entire academic year next year. It's all online. And when you look at the struggle and the cost of education, the way it's been, student debt being as high as it is, people are getting an education online. And they're going to say, why would I spend $40 or $50 or $60 or $100,000 a year to go to a university. If education is my point, I can get my education elsewhere. And this is going to be a huge deal for the higher education. There's going to be a lot of colleges that are going to fold out of this. Look at the impact on travel and tourism, hotels, cruise business. These are all things that may not come back in the form that we know. Certainly, we're going to see destination recreation like Disneyland and Universal Studios, big users of decorated apparel, all going to be hugely impacted. So this is going to have incredibly wide-reaching effects, things that are not obvious. And then even on the screen print side, screen print's used in a lot of industrial processes that feed other industrial processes, like your iPhone. You know, there's 18 parts in an iPhone that can only be screen printed. And if a small producer of sub-assemblies goes out of business, they can't make the iPhones until they find a new vendor that can do that. And a lot of these things are just a limited number of vendors that are going to survive, and most of them are fairly small. So it's going to be a big deal moving forward.
So as part of the supply chain, are people looking at protecting that and maybe helping people out? Are anybody doing that, do you think?
It's a mess. I mean, I was on a consult last week, first time I've been out in 9 weeks, and it was a scientific imaging process that was involved, screen printed. And it's like, man, there's nobody that can do this. There's nobody else that could do this. And the one vendor that was providing for them was failing so badly that they were disqualifying them and saying, we can't do it. But now what's going to happen? They had $500,000 worth of immediate orders to ship that they couldn't complete because this part was missing in the middle of it. And there's going to be a lot of these second, third, and fourth tier suppliers. And even in the decorated apparel industry, the supply chain is going to be impacted starting at the end of June. Every manufacturer, Next Level, Bella, Hanes, Gildan, everybody has switched to masks. That means that all the apparel that they're producing is in inventory right now. And we know what it's like when somebody wins the Super Bowl and we're out of black shirts or royal shirts. You can't find them anywhere in the country. That's what's going to happen. It's like t-shirts are going to be the next toilet paper. You're not going to be able to complete an order because you'll be missing all the smalls, or you'll be missing the smalls and the extra larges. So it's good. Anticipate this. This is going to be a big thing for you. This is something that you should be talking to your customers about right now, giving them a heads up to what to expect.
So if I'm watching this right now, Mark, how do I sign up for the Catalyst R3 program so I can learn how to adjust for my business?
So Catalyst R3 right now is not open to the general public. It will be opening next week to the general public. You can go to catalystplan.com and sign up on the mailing list there, and I'll notify you as soon as the program is available. We've currently got about 65 people in the beta version of it. They've been in it for about 4 weeks now, and they're moving through and completing the information, and they're giving feedback back so I can make adjustments to the program, et cetera, and make sure that it's relevant for everyone. But catalystplan.com, just go there and you can schedule a call, or you can just hit apply. And when you hit apply, what that's going to do is it'll bring up a name and email address, put that in there, and we can notify you as soon as it's available for you to come take a look at the sales page. I've been too busy even to put a sales page up for that. Just trying to get things ready to function.
Right. And so that the R3 program the sign up will be on Monday?
Probably Monday, maybe even at the end of the week. Depends on how fast we get stuff done. I'm not really even ready to launch this thing. The days are just blending into the days and nights are just blending together right now. So it's like, it's like already Thursday already this week. Okay. So if you're watching this right now, Mark, let people know what they should be doing right now. Because, in a lot of shops that I talk to, some have never even closed. They're full tilt bozo right now. Other people are just bringing their employees back. They're having their first meetings, or they're just kind of like right now getting started. And it really depends on
where they live and their markets and that kind of stuff. So kind of just give people kind of a tactical 1, 2, 3 for them or what they should be doing.
Here's the big thing right now. Most companies applied for and received PPP money, payment protection money, and they're trying to figure out how to apply that money if they're already not. They don't have enough work to do it. So are they going to sit on it? Are they going to forgive it? What are they going to do with it? The big thing right now is the conflict between actual orders and your ongoing overhead. The very first thing that you want to be doing right now is to figure out what your minimum viable requirement to stay alive is. How much money do you need to pay your rent? How much money to pay your minimum light bill, your minimum gas bill, the minimum level that keep your business in business. Figure out what that number is. And then you've got to figure out from there how much sales that you need to do to staff to that level, and staff to that level, but don't go beyond that. The major concern at this point for everybody that I talk to is that what do we do when the PPP money runs out? What do we do when the unemployment with the extra $600 a week runs out at the end of July? That's the question that's on everybody's mind right now, because there's not enough business to support a full shop coming back. And yet that's the way the programs are set up, is to pay the wages for a full shop. So figure out what your minimum number is that you're going to need and staff for that minimum number. If you're going to reset your business, which I recommend that you do, I would literally look at it and bring back people based on an annualized revenue of $150,000 per employee. That's the revenue which most companies in this industry will make a reasonable profit, a sustainable profit, and pay the owner an owner's wage, not a luxury wage, not a driving a Mercedes wage, but a comparable wage for somebody that would be in that position that you're doing. And essentially what that works out to is about $12,500 of revenue per month, sales per month. So if you're booking, 25,000 of sales per month, then you can bring back 2 people. If you're doing 50,000, you can bring back 4 people, but don't bring back 8 people if you're only doing 50,000 in work. Protect yourself into the future. That's really the message that I've got.
Okay. That sounds fair. And don't forget, if you're watching, please write it in a question or a comment, because we'd love to have Mark help you. So the next kind of idea I had to kind of discuss is kind of some long-term thinking, right? So where we are right now, we're almost in June, right? I can't believe it seems like the last couple of months have been crawling by with the worst snail's pace ever. But we need to be thinking about what's going to happen the rest of the summer and the fall. What are we doing for what the holiday season might be looking like? A lot of decorators make a lot of their money on Christmas orders and how that might be impacted, right? So what are your tips on some more long-term thinking to end this year and maybe get started for 2021?
Well, at this stage, I would watch very closely the next 4 weeks because we don't know what's going to happen with a second wave of this. We don't know if, it's going to really turn into a big problem or whether it's going to, basically dissipate with the summer. One thing we know that everything that we've counted on in the past is on the table for consideration. Retail is severely impacted. Retail chains are dropping like flies with bankruptcies. Anybody that's been doing any work in that retail segment, they've already been notified that they're going to, payment on invoices is 120 days, and we can't even guarantee that we'll pay that. So any type of fall retail, Christmas type orders and stuff like that are highly questionable right now. The ability to gather is going to be a major player because we do so many events in our industry. What's going to happen with school? Is it going to be distance learning, or is it going to be set up for social distance in the classroom? And what does that mean in terms of the scheduling of the day and how big the classes are? There's too many things right now that are unknowns to really put a long-term feel on it. I think the most important thing that you can do at this point is to be aware, open your eyes and look around. and look at everything that you see and say, how is that affecting me? What's happening here, and can that affect me? And what would I do if that had happened, if those orders didn't come in? If I tell everybody this, these are all just events that we're going through right now. Take the label off of the event. It's not bad, it's not good, it's not fast, it's not slow. Just take the label off. There's only 3 things that can happen for any event, and 2 of them are bad, right? They either get worse, they stay the same, or they get better. And our focus should be 100% on finding the good in any event that's there. And even though something is uncomfortable and unusual and scary, there's a label, scary. Scary means uncertain. You don't know what the future is going to bring. And that level of anxiety, you'd have to sweep that away and just look at it and say, what's in this for me? How can I take this situation and make it work? And an example of this is nobody's working, or the majority of people are not working. Well, what that means is all of your competitors are no longer working. And the bigger competitors have got a lot of overhead, and they were the ones that were running really lean to begin with, not very efficient. So a lot of the big players may not emerge out of this. And so that means that there's going to be a whole lot of business for the people that do emerge. So it's like, concentrate on figuring out what you have to do to save yourself, what your minimum viable requirement to stay alive is, and just keep pushing forward, looking for the opportunities that are out there. And there are a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, from what I can see, the people that seem to be really just doing what they need to be doing have been aggressively going after stuff. They're not waiting for the phone to ring. They're actually doing a lot of networking. They're on the phone. They're saying, hey, and they're leading with empathy. It's like, hey, what are you doing? How can I help you? That kind of stuff. And they're listening to what is going on, and that's saying, hey, I'm having this issue. Help me out. And that seems to be doing really well. And also one segment that seems to not have, it was slow, but seems to be really emerging is the promo people. So the people who use contract decorators and for their fulfillment. So these folks have outreach programs where they're sending stuff, care packages or whatever, to that company's fan base. And so if maybe you haven't done fulfillment before, you might think to yourself, hey, you know what? I bet I can take a t-shirt and a hat and a sticker or something and put it in a box. I could do something new. And so if you're always just doing one thing, realizing I can do something else is one way that you can kind of pivot and try to test the waters and try and build something that could be working.
Right. I know that you launched Beyond Disaster, or Recovering. What was the name of your new ebook?
It's Moving Past Disaster. Yes.
Yeah. Moving Past Disaster. Marshall kicked that off this week. It's got a lot of really good stuff in there, and there's a very deep exploration of the scamper method of creativity that Marshall talks about in the ebook. And really, that's a classic tool to change your perspective around what you're doing. You got to think beyond, I'm a t-shirt decorator, or I'm an embroiderer, or I'm a promo products guy. You've got to think in a bigger view of the world. People need help right now, and they don't care where they get the help from. And if you're the one that can provide help and guidance, you're valuable. Your value is in the value of your network. Your network is all of your employees, all of your vendors, and all of your customers. So when you talk to a customer and you say, how can I help you today? And they say, well, I don't need any t-shirts, but man, I got a real problem with my roof right now. You can say, no problem. I got 3 roofers I can put you in contact with, because they're roofing customers. So you're building reciprocity currency, right? You're doing a favor for them that they will not forget. The Here for Good campaigns that we're all familiar with is building reciprocity currency. You're using your resources for the greater good of your community. That's where your value is. That's where you're going to be remembered for. That's what people will come back to you for, because you did good. You helped. You stepped up when everybody else was in a panic. you step forward in a leadership role to say, how can I help?
Right. And a real interesting thing that I've seen a lot is T-shirt shops that have like a wide format printer pivoted with high school senior Coroplast yard signs. And I know tons of shops that were doing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these. They had never done these before ever.
That's a new product that's emerged, just like masks have emerged as a new fashion item, right? It's a emergency workaround right now, but it's going to become a mainstream decorated item moving forward. I talked with a printer in Houston last week that's done 10,000 Coroplast senior signs. There's a shortage of Coroplast in the market today. This guy has got, the full-on 5 foot by 10 foot digital flatbed presses that can do, I don't know what it was, how many beds an hour. It was like 120 or 150 beds an hour. And you can imagine how many of that is when it's a 1.5 foot by 2 feet. You lay them all up. It's a lot of signs. But new opportunities like that are going to present themselves. We're just switching. We're substituting what we do. What we do in our industry is we connect people to what they believe and the communities that believe the same things. Students, schools, brands, businesses, local causes, politics. We connect those, and we connect them graphically. That's what you have to start thinking about and using that as the bigger view of what we offer.
Yeah, you've been talking a long time about quit selling ink on cotton and be selling ideas and networking and all those other higher level value things.
They're actually lower level values. They're core values. They're foundational values. And what people do is they pick the low hanging fruit. And when the low hanging fruit's gone, they're like, what's going to happen? We picked that all. If you understand the market, you understand what drives the market, then you have an infinite range of opportunities available to you.
Right. Hey, just want to give some shout outs here. Pete Jr. says, hey. Dan Solomon's watching. Hey. And then Ron Goodwin, our good buddy there, says 123sportswear.com spent last weekend making Coroplast signs for the reopen. So those are all great. If you've got a question for Mark, please type it in the comments. So let's just real quick before we wrap up here, let's talk about masks real quick, because I know that there was some talk about that in the Catalyst call this morning. What's your take on that? Because I see a lot of blood in the water coming, right? So if I'm doing masks or I'm thinking about doing masks, what is your advice for that?
So like everything else, the mask market was an opportunistic one. There was a huge need and a vacuum formed, and everybody jumped in there. People were saying, we don't have any business now. There's a huge need. I recognize that. I'm going to get masks. And there's a lot of smoke and mirrors, people selling stuff that they don't have. They've created relationships that, they've made new contacts, but they don't have a relationship. They don't have a proven base from that yet. It's starting to shake out. We're a month into it now, and you're starting to see the major players. Hanes is in, Gildan is in, Bella is in, Next Level is in, Bayside is in. It goes on and on. All the t-shirt manufacturers have switched out. Now, we're seeing a market that with t-shirts, there's billions and billions of t-shirts made every year. There's going to be multiple billions of masks made for this situation. And if we look at this as masking being mandatory, starting on Monday, it is a law in Virginia that if you're in public and you're in a public building, you have to have a mask. That's a law. And if we do that for 300 million people, and we allow them to go back to large public gatherings, every big game, every 100,000, 70,000, 50,000 football event, baseball event, whatever it is, are going to require masks. Masks are going to be around for a long time. I think the key factor to consider is the conversation that you have with your prospect. Where are they in their need? If they're at the survival level, it's I got to have a mask in order to keep from getting sick. If they're at the safety level, I need a mask to keep myself from getting sick and from getting somebody else sick. It's safe when I wear a mask. The next level up is community belonging and connection, which is where the typical t-shirt people normally belong. So we're entering at a lower survival level, and we're entering at the level of connection to our communities. So that's going to be there. When you have the conversation with your prospects, ask them what their concerns are. Do you want an American-made mask? Do you care if it's made outside of America? Do you care if it's made in Asia? Do you care if it's polyester, or do you want cotton? Do you want it to be breathable? Do you want it to be antimicrobial? Do you want it to be moisture wicking? Do you want it to be 3-ply with a filter pocket, or 2-ply with a filter pocket for replaceable filters? There's lots of options that are coming in, and in the marketplace today, the majority of people that are selling masks are not selling them based on what they can provide. They're just like, I got a mask, I can sell them to you for $2 or $5 or $15. It's a transactional, opportunistic situation, which you don't want to be there. You want something that's going to be sustainable moving into the future.
Right. And so we have some comments here. Kevin says, thanks for your input. I just talked to Kevin. And by the way, Kevin, big shout out for him, does all of our trophies for the rock, paper, scissors tournaments that we do at Shirt Lab. So
my shirt.
Him. Yeah, Mark's wearing his t-shirt. That was from St. Louis, if I remember right.
Believe it. Yeah, St. Louis.
Yeah, a custom max is the next wave. Jesse says that. John says, do you guys have any opinions on the safety of breathing through a sublimated, printed, or unwashed mask?
Well, sublimation should not be an issue at all, because the gas, the dye goes to a gas and dyes the polyester at the molecular level. So there's no solvents or anything like that going out there. Jesse puts up, always wash a new mask. Yes, I would wash definitely a 50-50 or 100% cotton. Absolutely. Because there's finishing agents and things like that that are on there. Absolutely.
And then our good friend Allie says, Japan is a good market to use for evaluation. It is socially expected if you are sick to wear a mask in public. It has been this way for decades. It would be interesting to see what average mask sales are in a society that has stabilized. That's a good comment.
And there was just an article yesterday about how Japan did not lock down, and they did not have a spike like every other country had, and that may be partially responsible because of the masking situation, as Ali points out.
Yeah, it's the Omar Bradley quote, culture eats strategy for breakfast. So, I love a good quote. All right. Well, anybody else have any questions? Because we're almost going to be wrapping up here soon. In the meantime, we got one. We ozone our masks as one last step before delivering to our customers. You should be filming that and using that in your marketing, because you're providing a higher level of value than just any other schmo that's selling masks.
Right.
So I would be doing that. So before we go, Mark, you've got our Shirt Lab shirt on. Thank you so much. It's really great. And Shirt Lab Summit is also launching on Monday. If you haven't signed up yet, please do so. It's free, right? And Mark has had the honor and privilege, I think, of helping us out. He's been an attendee. He's been a speaker twice now, and he's on the Shirt Lab Summit, right? So you're all around. So maybe give everyone your view on what we're doing with Shirt Lab.
It's a huge opportunity. There's a diverse range of topics and a diverse range of really expert speakers that are, subject matter experts in their individual right. 2 days worth of free information. It's a tremendous opportunity to try and get a handle on what's going on, because this was all recorded during COVID. So it's points of view, multiple points of view, which to me is the most valuable way of learning and moving forward.
Yeah, Monday is sales, Tuesday is marketing, and Wednesday is operations. And if you go to shirtlabsummit.com, you can register. And then there's also a scroll list of you can see who's participating. And we tried to cherry pick folks that we knew that could provide great content, but also from different types of viewpoints. And it's not all the same cast of characters you see at a normal trade show. And so there's people here you haven't probably ever heard of, but you should. That's the reason they're there, right? And then, so Mark, what you've been to the live events we've done, kind of give us your take on that too.
Live events are really great. I mean, I've enjoyed. I've been to three now, I think 3 or 4. I can't remember, but they're really phenomenal. And the thing that's been exciting to watch has been the engagement and the repeat clientele or repeat visitors that come back. The content is great. The networking is great. The subject matter is good. And the food is always good and the drinks are always good. They've got really good sponsorship for this. And overall, it's just really a well done, well produced event. And I just hope that the live events can return sooner rather than later, because they are really worth your time and investment.
Yeah, well, we pushed them out to next year because we don't know what's going to happen, and we didn't want to take a risk with somebody getting sick, and I would feel really awful about that if that happened. So we moved them out. So the first one is going to be March 19th. It's 19th and 20th in Dallas, and your good friend Jeffrey Gitomer is the keynote speaker.
Right.
And if you haven't heard about him, you need to look him up.
I have the distinct pleasure. This is something you don't know. 40 years ago, I hired Jeffrey as a consultant, and I fired him on the first day.
Well, that's not good for us.
It is good for you, because this is a testament to how professional Jeffrey is as an individual. That could have been a really ugly situation because there was a lot of money involved in doing that. But he's so professional and so skilled at what he does that he turned that situation around into a 40+ year lifelong friendship. And one of my very closest friends, 40 some odd years later, 1977, I think it was 77 or 78.
That's great. That's great.
A long, long time, and consummate professional, tremendous wisdom and skill at the human level, which is what I like the most.
And roots in this industry.
Roots in this industry.
Mm-hmm. And then the other event we're doing is June 5th in Chicago. That's our Women's Nexus. And Allie, who was commenting earlier, is actually one of our speakers at that. And that's going to be lots of fun. And so we wish we could have had our events this year, and we're incredibly bummed that we can't. But we have to make a decision. And I think March and June of next year, I think that's a pretty good distance away that we should be okay. So hopefully everything is normal by then, right? All right, so I think that's going to be about it. This will be recorded and on the Atkinson Consulting webpage for anybody to watch and view. And so, Mark, before you go, if anybody has any questions or how they can get a hold of you or Catalyst, let's give one more opportunity there. What should they do?
They can go to catalystplan.com, or they can email me directly to my personal email, which is coudray@coudray.com.
Okay, excellent.
Coudray.
All right. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thanks, Mark. I really appreciate your time today. And thanks, everyone, for joining us. You guys are awesome. Stay healthy and happy. See ya.
Take care.